Fortinet NSE 5_FSW_add 7.6 exam practice questions with explanations are available in the video for you to study. When DHCP snooping is activated on a specific VLAN of a FortiSwitch, which two behaviors are correct? Choose 2. A. DHCP server replies are permitted only on interfaces configured as trusted. B. DHCP snooping blocks all unicast packets within the VLAN. C. The switch can append option 82 information to client DHCP requests. DHCP discover messages from clients are dropped if received on trusted ports. The answer is AC. DHCP snooping is a Layer 2 security mechanism designed to prevent unauthorized DHCP servers from distributing IP addresses. When enabled, the switch differentiates between trusted and untrusted interfaces. DHCP server responses such as DHCP offer and DHCP ACK are accepted only on ports explicitly marked as trusted, ensuring rogue servers cannot inject malicious responses. Additionally, the switch can insert DHCP option 82 information into client requests, which allows the upstream DHCP server to identify the originating port or VLAN of the request. This improves accountability and supports policy enforcement. DHCP snooping does not block general unicast traffic, and client DHCP requests are normally allowed on untrusted ports so legitimate address assignment can occur. Which statement correctly describes how a quarantine VLAN functions on a managed FortiSwitch? A. The quarantine VLAN cannot provide DHCP services. B. Devices that fail 802.1x authentication may be assigned to the quarantine VLAN. C. The quarantine VLAN is used only when a global blocking policy is enabled. D. Devices are automatically blocked even if the quarantine VLAN is not allowed on the port. The answer is B. A quarantine VLAN is typically used as a restricted access network segment for endpoints that fail authentication checks. In an 802.1x deployment, if a device fails authentication or receives an access reject from the Radius server, the switch can dynamically assign that device to the quarantine VLAN. This limits network access while still allowing controlled remediation services if configured. The quarantine VLAN may include DHCP services depending on design requirements. It does not automatically block devices unless combined with appropriate security policies. Its purpose is isolation and containment rather than outright port shutdown. To enable SNMP version 2C functionality on a managed FortiSwitch, which configuration step is mandatory? A. Define an SNMPv3 user with authentication and encryption. B. Configure at least one SNMP trap destination. C. Activate SNMPv3 to support SNMPv2C operations. D. Enable the SNMP agent and define community strings. The answer is D. SNMP version 2C relies on community strings for authentication rather than user-based credentials. To activate SNMP version 2C on a FortiSwitch, The SNMP agent must first be enabled so the device can respond to SNMP queries. Community strings must then be configured to control read-only or read-write access. Unlike SNMP v3, no user accounts or encryption mechanisms are required. Defining trap hosts is optional and only required if the administrator wants to send notifications. Therefore, enabling the agent and configuring communities are the fundamental requirements. Which two prerequisites must be satisfied before a FortiGate can manage a FortiSwitch stack? Choose two. A. A FortiLink interface must be configured on the FortiGate. B. The switch controller feature must be enabled on the FortiGate. C. All FortiLink interfaces must be disabled before authorization. D. The FortiSwitch must operate in standalone mode permanently. The answer is A-B. FortiGate manages FortiSwitch devices through the FortiLink interface, which serves as the management channel between devices. Without configuring a FortiLink interface, discovery and centralized control cannot occur. Additionally, the switch controller feature must be enabled in FortiGate's feature visibility settings so management menus and authorization controls become available. Disabling FortiLink interfaces would prevent management communication. While switches may initially operate in standalone mode before authorization, this is not a permanent requirement. The critical requirements are FortiLink configuration and enabling the switch controller feature. Which ACL stage should be selected if traffic must be filtered before any Layer 2 or Layer 3 lookup occurs? A. Ingress. B. Egress. C. Forwarding. D. Pre-lookup. The answer is D. The pre-lookup ACL stage processes packets at the earliest point in the switching pipeline. At this stage, traffic is evaluated before the switch performs MAC address table lookups or routing table decisions. This allows unwanted traffic to be discarded immediately, improving performance by preventing unnecessary hardware or CPU processing. Ingress ACLs operate after Layer 2 or Layer 3 lookups have been performed. Egress ACLs apply filtering just before packets exit an interface. Therefore, pre-lookup is the recommended stage for early traffic filtering. If IGMP snooping is disabled on a VLAN where multicast receivers exist, what is the expected behavior? A. Multicast traffic is blocked until a new IGMP join occurs. B. The switch stops recognizing multicast MAC addresses. C. Multicast frames are flooded to all ports within the VLAN. D. Existing multicast group memberships are removed from hosts. The answer is C. IGMP snooping allows a switch to selectively forward multicast traffic only to ports with active receivers. When this feature is disabled, the switch no longer maintains a multicast forwarding table. As a result, multicast traffic is treated similarly to broadcast traffic. Frames are flooded to all ports within the VLAN, regardless of membership. Hosts remain members of multicast groups at Layer 3, but the switch no longer optimizes forwarding. This can increase unnecessary bandwidth consumption and processing overhead. Which COS mechanism is responsible for mapping packets marked with specific COS or DSCP values into a corresponding egress queue? A. Ingress classification. B. Egress rate limiting. C. Traffic shaping. D. Packet remarking. The answer is A. Ingress classification is the process where the switch inspects packet headers for COS markings such as COS or DSCP values. Based on these markings, the switch assigns the packet to one of several available egress queues. This mapping determines transmission priority during congestion. Rate limiting controls bandwidth but does not assign queue placement. Traffic shaping modifies transmission timing rather than classification. Packet remarking changes header values but does not itself determine queue selection. Which protocol must be configured to prevent switching loops in a full mesh layer 2 FortiSwitch topology? A. Multi-chassis link aggregation, MCLAG. B. Spanning tree protocol, STP. C. Link aggregation group, LAG. D. High availability, HA. The answer is B. In a full mesh layer 2 design, multiple redundant physical paths inherently create switching loops. Spanning tree protocol prevents broadcast storms by calculating a loop-free logical topology. It places redundant links into a blocking or discarding state while keeping primary paths active. MCLAG improves redundancy but still relies on STP awareness for loop prevention. LAG aggregates links within a single device but does not eliminate topology loops. Therefore, STP is the essential protocol for maintaining stability. Which two interface types can participate in dynamic routing protocols on a FortiSwitch? Choose two. A. Loopback interfaces. B. Switch virtual interfaces, SVIs. C. Physical layer 2 access ports. D. Management-only interfaces. The answer is AB. Dynamic routing protocols operate on layer 3 interfaces capable of holding IP addresses. Loopback interfaces are logical interfaces that remain operational regardless of physical link state, making them ideal for router IDs and stable routing references. Switch virtual interfaces, SVIs, are VLAN-based layer 3 interfaces used for inter-VLAN routing. Standard layer 2 access ports do not participate directly in routing protocols. Management-only interfaces are typically reserved for administrative access and are not used for dynamic routing advertisements. What is the primary limitation when connecting additional PoE-powered devices to a FortiSwitch? A. All connected devices must support the same PoE standard. B. The switch must support LLDP MED. C. The total power draw must remain within the switch's PoE budget. D. Each port must operate in high-priority power mode. The answer is C. Each FortiSwitch model has a maximum PoE power budget determined by its internal power supply. When connecting additional powered devices, the cumulative wattage consumption must not exceed this limit. If the power demand surpasses the available budget, the switch may refuse to power new devices or disable lower priority ports. While compatibility with PoE standards such as 802.3 AF or 802.3 AD is important, it is not the primary operational constraint. LLDP MED assists with negotiation but does not determine overall capacity. Effective PoE deployment therefore requires careful monitoring of total power consumption.